these people do not live in the same world as regular people. Do what God has called you to do. Don't be concerned about other people.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Can't relate to cancel culture, hookup culture, or victim culture.
Well, neither could we. We created this platform for those other girls. Girls like us who want to give a different perspective from a Christian and conservative worldview.
We talk about life, work, relationships, pop culture, and everything in between. So let's be those other girls that just don't talk about culture,
but change culture.
Hi, everyone.
Hello, everybody. Hello, everyone. You're listening to Those Are the Girls with Mallory and Friends. I'm Mallory.
I'm Freeman.
And we are changing culture and bringing back traditional values. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to another episode.
So good to be here. I have my cucumber water. I'm ready.
Yay. I have my just regular water and I'm ready.
I like it.
Anything interesting happened to you this week?
Okay. So if you know me, you know I hate cars. I hate dealing with my car. I hate anything. I hate getting in my car. I hate getting out of my car. I hate looking at my car. I hate smelling my car. I hate taking my car anywhere. So I've had this tire that I know has a hole in it. It's honestly been flat since like before I can remember. I will have people like pulling me over, being like, your tire is flat. And everyone knows about it, and I just refuse to get it taken. So finally I was like, okay, instead of getting a new tire, which is going to be expensive and timely, I'm going to get an air pump. So lo and behold, I bought an air pump, and given how much my anxiety flares when I think about my car, I let the air pump like sit for 6 weeks before I finally broke it out. And today was the day that I broke out the air pump and I plugged it in, and like it just kind of like was sitting there and the number wasn't doing anything. And I was like, something's not right. So I looked it up. Of course, I'm not going to look at the instructions because why would you do that?
Of course. Not when you have Google.
Exactly. So I was like looking on Google, and then I spotted this magical power button. So I pressed the power button, and it started humming really loud, and the numbers started going up, and I am just on fire. I feel like I could just conquer the world. So that was my celebration for the day.
Women
so
in STEM. Okay. Okay.
Notice how I don't go get a new tire. Like, I'm not doing that.
Tires are expensive. How much was the pump?
It was like $50 on Amazon. And I really feel like I'm just going to fill it up until I have the money and the time.
Well, I had to get a tire weeks, probably months ago at this point. And I was on a trip. I don't remember where I was, but I came back in the airport. And my dad drove to pick me up. And he was like, so were you aware that your tire was completely flat before you left? And I was like, what? No. And I wasn't aware. I did have the horseshoe with the exclamation point. I did have that. But I was like, you know what? I'll care about that later. Like, out of sight, out of mind. Like, I'm not going to concern myself with it. And then my dad said, though, like, while I was gone, he went outside and looked at my car. And the tire was, like, completely flat at that point. And I was like, that's crazy. He was like, well, we got you another tire. And I was like, well, thank you so much. $250.
Yeah.
And
probably it took him the whole day to do it, right?
And it was on a Sunday. So, yeah, the whole day. That was the thing, too. It had to be an emergency because he had to go to an emergency place.
Yeah.
$250. Yeah. Especially
That's
like,
my
I have a
nightmare.
newer car. Yeah. So, I would just, $50, $250, $50, $250. I just stick with the air pump.
Yeah, exactly. So, what about you? Anything interesting?
I really need to start spoilers again because I have so much to say. I finished Shiny Happy People. I'll talk about that another time. I also finished Manifest. If you have
my gosh, we're finishing Manifest right now.
Okay, I guess I'll wait. What part are you at?
Oh, I don't really care, honestly.
Don't care about spoilers? Are you sure?
I think it's the stupidest show of all time.
Manifest?
I am like,
about the plane.
Yeah, it is so dumb. Oh my gosh, are you kidding?
I am shook. Everybody, please comment and tell Freeman how she's wrong. I cannot believe this.
Okay, the first few seasons are good, but then it just becomes like I have the magic powers. Eat
Okay,
my, I'm
okay.
like, oh
I
my.
will say it went from, I guess, like,
Like I was tracking the first few
yeah.
seasons. Now I'm just like
Well,
lost,
the first season
really.
I feel it was like more of drama, and now it's kind of moved over to sci-fi almost. Like it's more of a
Yes.
sci-fi show.
Yeah,
Whereas,
I
like,
don't
so it
know.
gets compared to. Actually, before we continue, spoilers, spoilers, spoilers. I'm going to talk about the ending, and I'm going to talk about so many things. Spoilers, spoilers, spoilers. So if you have not seen the end of Manifest, fast forward. Oops, spoilers, spoilers, spoilers. I'm giving you time. Go ahead and fast forward if you have not seen the end of Manifest. Okay. So what I was gonna say is, so have you seen Lost?
No.
Okay, you should see Lost. That's really good. It gets compared to Lost a lot. So Lost, except for the last season, was 10 out of 10, like best show ever. The last season was absolute trash. It's actually notoriously known
Gosh.
for being trash. The last season because it made no sense and it just didn't fit in the plot.
Yeah.
But what I was gonna say is like I will say Lost kind of stuck for the most part. There was like one or two things that were kind of like a little bit sci-fi, but it stuck kind of with like the drama genre. Whereas
Like a
Manifest and
storyline.
yeah, and Manifest
Character
kind of just
development.
took off. So I finished Manifest, and if you're listening and you don't care about you're still listening because you don't care about the spoiler, you absolutely should see it. I think it's such a great show. The ending was
Waste
such
of
a
time.
beautiful example of like grace, redemption, love,
Okay,
sacrifice.
great.
I mean,
I'm
it was so good. Like okay, I'm gonna say this part. You sure you don't want to hear spoilers?
I'm fine. Honestly, I do my own thing when he's watching, but continue.
Okay, so the very last episode when Judgment happens. So this is the part like I teared up. So the very last episode when Judgment happens. So everyone that is bad, or that was deemed bad, they like kind of blow up in ash, kind of like how Infinity War was. So okay, actually, I'm sorry. So before all that, Angeline, she has her little magic thing, and she
Yes, the
becomes
blue thing.
yes. So the old plane comes up from out of the ground, and everybody's getting on the plane because that's what needs to happen next. Well, Angeline comes with her cult and is like, "Get off the plane! Plane is only for me, my people." And there's fighting ensues. Everybody gets on the plane. Long story short, it comes to a point where Angeline is on the ground, and Ben has a huge gun aiming it at her. And it's like, if you know the story, Angeline killed Grace. And at that moment, we thought it was unremorseful. She did say she was sorry. She kidnapped his daughter. Like, I mean, this man has been through it
Yeah,
because of this woman.
yeah.
And he has the gun and has a chance to end it off. Throughout the whole show, I was saying someone should just kill her. Get it over with. Like, just kill her. Like, she's ruined everyone's life. And she hasn't even done anything to me. But Ben, after everything she's done, he realizes, like, it's like me killing her is not going to do anything. Like, that's not what it is. Especially because she did say she was sorry. She did not, like, she never intended to kill Grace. So
Hmm.
he throws down the gun and then picks her up with the fire image. Anyway, so good. So then they get on the plane. They get on the plane, and that's when everybody starts. Like, there were people who were unrepentant. That's what it is. It was, if you were unrepentant and you didn't forgive, you blew up. So there were people who just were throughout the whole series. Well, not throughout the whole series. Well, one lady who we kind of met early on, she like abused her daughter. I forgot her name. She was so irrelevant to the last couple of episodes. And she was unrepentant. She knew what she was doing, and she blew up. So then there was a time when Adrian, who throughout most of the season was kind of bad too, he created a cult around himself, took money from people, and
Oh, the
Egan,
black guy.
the black guy, yep, and
Hmm.
Egan, the little scam artist guy who was like the funniest character, he should have been in more episodes. They were
Yeah,
both,
like the black hair.
yeah, I don't know I can't tell what race he is. I think he's Latino, maybe. I don't know, but
Yeah.
you know exactly what I'm talking about. He's actually kind
Hmm.
of cute, but he's a little scam artisty. Anyway, so they're sitting next to each other, and Adrian is about to die. And Egan, who has never done anything for anybody but himself the entire show, is like, you know what, this guy, like, Adrian really started making amends. Like, last couple episodes, Adrian really did turn his life around. He realized he was doing something wrong. So Egan took off his, like, necklace that was supposed to represent, like, an angel, I think, and gave it to him and said, just take me instead. And then Adrian ended up not dying. So then it was Egan almost died, and Adrian was like, well, he just sacrificed himself. He was going to give himself up. So then he ended up not dying. And it was just like, yes, like, that was the thing. Like, at the last second, when people, like, you know, not to make it all Christian-y, but at the last second, like, I mean, think about the center on the
You
cross.
still have time.
You still have time. You still have time. So that happened, you know, I was like, yay. So here's the thing. So they fly into the big, like, I forgot what they called it, the big, like, light or whatever, and then they all start walking off the plane, and it goes back to 5.5 years ago, and they're like, oh my goodness, I'm, you know, Miss Flo stopped by, so I'm like super emotional, and I think I might cry, but I cried the first time I saw it. And they get off the plane, and then Grace, who, like, was missing the whole season, who was, like, the glue to everything, she was so great, best character, she's like, Ben, and it was just so cute. Yeah, Grace was there. So they just went back 5.5 years. So Grace was there, and then Cal, because he sacrificed himself for the whole plane thing, he was there as a kid, and he doesn't remember anything, which is great, so he doesn't have all that burdensomeness about it. Olive was a kid, and, like, everybody got to do the 5.5 years over again, but everybody that was, like, on the plane remembered it. The people who had died before, but they had not died because of their sins, they all came back, but they don't remember. But everybody that came back, and, like, they did good with their callings. They were able to do the good things. They all remember it. And everybody's just going about their business. And then who did you think Michaela, well, you weren't really watching, but who do you think Michaela should have been with? Zeke or Jared?
I think she ends up with Jared.
Okay. Who do you think she's better with?
Jared.
I agree.
Zeke is not attractive.
I agree. I think Zeke's less attractive than Jared. Jared's the most attractive person on the show, by far and above. But
Yes.
Okay. So since you haven't gotten that far, Drea is pregnant by by Jared. Jared gets Drea pregnant. Because they're just
Which one is Drea?
So the cop that took Mick's place, and they were just hooking up. Remember, they were just hooking up because they're just having fun. It was his partner. His cop partner.
Get the cop partner. Yeah, yes.
Yes. So,
wait. The cop partner was, I don't really know who that is. I don't remember that.
I'll show you a picture after. But Drea's pregnant. So, and anyway, long story short, at the very end, so we find out before the end of the show that Zeke was actually at the airport the day they came back doing his cab rides. So Mick breaks up with Jared because Jared is really supposed to be with Drea because Drea wants a family and Jared wants a family, but Mick doesn't want a family because, you know, she has all this drama.
Drea's the short hair girl.
Yes. She's really pretty, but, you know, she's no Mick. Mick is gorgeous.
No, she's no Mick.
And, you know, Jared and Mick really should be together, but they want separate things. So then Mick runs out to the cab and talks to it's just such a sweet ending.
So the story is that heaven is basically Earth?
No. The story is they are judged for what they did, and then they it's the end of the world. I guess it looks.
But I thought you said they get off the plane.
They do get off the plane. But they get off the plane.
And then everybody's, like, waving.
No.
Are they waving in heaven or are they waving on Earth?
They get off the plane to 5 years in the past. So once they get off the plane, it's actually 2013.
Heaven if it's in.
No. It's like they didn't disappear. It was what should have actually happened.
Got it.
Yeah. Okay. So it's like the 5.5 years don't exist. It's like a different timeline, I guess.
That doesn't make sense, though. That doesn't, like, why would you do that?
Why
would those 20, 30, 40, 50 people be the only ones to be judged? Why wouldn't the whole world be judged?
I think that's the point. It's just random. Literally life is just randomness. Why isn't X, Y, and Z? I think that's the point. That's what I got out of it. Like, they just picked eeny, meeny, miny, you. You're going to be the people that we're going to judge the whole world by. X, Y, and Z.
Oh, so you think the God
I
judged the
think,
whole world by them?
well, yes. And
Hmm.
yeah, I think the God judged the whole world because it was supposed to end. There was all these volcanoes and things like that. All this stuff was
Mm-hmm.
happening. And then they did not
They
happen.
saved the world.
They saved the world.
Wow. Can you think of any other stories that are like, one cute girl and one cute boy have to save the world?
I think it's a great show. I cannot believe you're hating on it like this. I'm just flabbergasted. I don't know a single person on earth that's seen the show that does not like it. Like, legitimately,
I
I don't
just,
know anyone else that does not like it.
I mean, I'm sorry. I literally crack
Do you
up
like
when they,
you don't like sci-fi stuff? I feel like if you don't like sci-fi
I
stuff,
just
you
feel
might
like
not
it's
like it.
cheesy. It's like she was talking to the dead. It's like I'm just not buying it. Do you know what I mean? It's just cheesy. It's like
No,
my
I
hand is
don't get it.
glowing with a vision. It's like,
Yeah. I don't understand, but I respect that. We don't have to like the same things. That's
mm-hmm,
okay.
mm-hmm,
I'm
mm-hmm.
sure there could be someone else out there in the world that agrees with you. I don't know who they are.
One of them is my husband, but he doesn't like starting something and not finishing it. So
Oh,
he's
he
forcing himself to watch it.
where like what season are you guys on?
We're like the last season, I'm pretty
Oh,
sure.
okay,
Like we've
okay.
gotten to the volcano.
Okay. Yeah, so you're in the last season, I'm pretty sure. I don't know. It's an amazing show and I highly recommend it. I finished it this weekend, 10 out of 10. Oh, I actually knew someone who was an extra in it. I was watching it, an episode. This was maybe like excuse me, like season 3, maybe even season 2. And I went back. I was like, "Is that
Oh my
Lexington?"
gosh,
Yeah,
that's really funny.
"Is that Lexington?" And then I took a picture of it. I said, "Lexington, is this you?" And he's like,
Oh
"Oh
my
yeah, you're watching
gosh.
that." And I'm like, "Yeah, okay, this is kind of cool." He was like,
That's
"Yeah, it
really
was a
funny.
cool cast." Yeah.
Okay, well, it's almost 20 minutes in.
Yes. And to be honest, you guys, it's not like we have fantastic stories. It's been a slowish week. No, they aren't fantastic stories. I mean, they're two of them are really kind of happy stories. Which is great, but like not too much crazy stuff has happened this week.
Yeah.
So I was kind of drawing it out.
Well, I'm glad you
Um
said that because I couldn't really think of much to write down. I wasn't really feeling like,
I saw. That's why I was like, okay. When I was looking, I was like, okay, we have got to add something else because like there wasn't much to say. I did add a story last minute, um, which will be the first story.
alrighty.
So we might have stuff to say with that. So just a reminder, we have cute merch. You should get our app and you should join the Patreon. Oh my goodness, completely forgot. Should not have forgotten this. I want to shout out one of our listeners, Renee. She sent me her graduation announcement. Well, sent us.
Renee.
Yes, a graduation announcement. I want to shout you out and congratulate you from graduating. College is great. College is important. It's really important for everyone to get your education. It doesn't necessarily matter what college you go to as long as you go and make the most of your situation. Most of your experience, your situation.
Hmm.
Well, I mean, yeah, make the most of your situation if you don't like your
Hmm.
college, but like make the most of your education while you're there. That means actually getting your work done and then also enjoying times where you can network and, making good friends, getting involved with internships. So college is important. You know what? I'll just go ahead and say I had a little thing I was going to say at the beginning. I'm just going to say it now since we're talking about it. College really is important. And following what God has planned for you is really important as well. There is a new movement within the conservative movement that I'm sure everybody has seen and heard.
Yep.
There's things that
Hmm.
have gone viral on Twitter recently. You guys know what I'm talking about. And I just want to reiterate, do what God has called you to do. Do not change your plans because you think someone that you have been listening to has said to go this way. I just think, or I'm going to change my whole life because I want to meet somebody. So I'm just going to pack up, move, and just go to a whole nother city. And I'm just going to do all these other things that I just think I should do just to meet someone because I really want to get married. Getting married, there's nothing wrong with that. Getting married young is nothing wrong. That's a great thing. If that could happen for you, I don't think that's a bad thing. But you
Hmm.
have to make sure you're doing what God has called you to do because Being married is a serious, serious thing. I mean, you guys saw what happened with Lauren Southern, um, Steven Crowder. Like, being married is not anything to joke about. It's not something to do to own the libs. Let's be rebels and get married and have kids. Sure, those are great, nice things. I'm not against that. Do not hear me say that. What I'm saying is, like, that's not the purpose to get married. Get married, have babies. Those are great things. I want everybody to do it. I would like to do it one day, hopefully. But you have to do it in God's timing, and you have to do it with the right person. So I just really wanted to say that, and I just wanted to add a little bit of context to some of these people do not live in the same world as regular people. What do I mean by that? With money, and this is just a fact, with money, you can do more, you can say more, you can live a different type of life with money. Don't hear me say I'm dragging them. I would love to have that type of money. I would trade places with them in a hot second. But that's just not everybody's situation. And if you're listening, it might not be your situation. So, you know, your husband, you meet someone, you guys are just not in a place financially to do X, Y, and Z. That's okay. You just have to follow your path. Do what God has called you to do. Don't be concerned about other people. Okay, that's just my spiel. Freeman, you want to add anything to that?
No, I think that was lovely.
Okay, let's get into our stories. Also, congratulations again to Renee.
Congrats, Renee. Cheers to you. Clink.
All right, ladies. Our first story is from Evie Magazine. This is the topic that we talk about a lot, but I think we should keep talking about it. Okay. This OnlyFans model quits OnlyFans, and she's looking for a high-value man. Quote, he doesn't want a wife who the world has access to. End quote. Australian OnlyFans star Megan James shared the harsh reality of sex work in a candid Instagram story post. James now seeks a, quote, high-value man and admits she doesn't want her future daughters to, quote, suffer in a porn-fueled society. Megan James, who goes by the username Chaos of Her on Instagram, shares a dark side of the sex industry in a candid post. The model is among the top 13% of OnlyFans creators, according to her page on the website. The Melbourne model admits she loved the creativity aspect of the sex work way more than the money, but the posting nudes no longer aligns with the life she desires, adding that pornography impacts the healthiest relationships. She recognizes that it desensitizes individuals to intimacy and fuels jealousy between couples. Many women's boyfriends also subscribe to James, and that no longer sits right with her. The money was epic, let's be real, she admits. We love money. Money is not a dirty word. Wanting money and loving money is not shameful. But I learned a few things in the last few months that meant that this avenue of money flow no longer aligns with the vision I have for who I want to be, what I want out of life, and what I want in a partner, and how I feel about the effect this type of work is having the way the future generations will neurologically perceive pleasure. James clarifies she's not shaming OnlyFans girls and that the sex work industry won't disappear anytime soon. However, facts are facts. Previously, porn was a fantasy, a girl you would never meet or know or think of again. Now, these are everyday girls who don't necessarily have an understanding or respect for the sex work industry and the women who've worked in it for years. They're girls like me who you can bump into at the beach, at a cafe, in your supermarket. They're influencers who you love and you follow. And even if you are the most open-minded person, which I am, this is 100% affecting the healthiest of relationships. If you have a yes to porn agreement and then he subs to your favorite influencer, that is going to cause any female to feel some type of way. And after being the girl who many people's boyfriends sub to, it no longer sits right to me. It interferes with your neurological pleasure pathways. The more hypersexualized content you consume, the less you'll be aroused by regular intimacy. I don't want that for my future daughter. I don't want to contribute to it. Say what you want about James, but she's right. Besides the erectile dysfunction caused by frequent masturbation, science has shown that pornography increases dopamine in the brain the same way addictive substances do. And as we know, addiction has side effects such as depression, anxiety, and other symptoms. Porn has also been shown to decrease the gray area in the prefrontal cortex. I don't know why I said that. Prefrontal cortex, diminishing your capacity for logical decision making and moral justifications. Well, first couple of things I want to say. She said, we love money. Money is not a dirty word. Wanting money and loving money is not shameful. I will say the Bible does say the love of money is the root of all evil. So I wanted to point that out. I thought that was interesting that she said loving money is not shameful. I think a more proper statement would be recognizing that money gives you security, gives you security really is okay, and there's nothing wrong with wanting that. I think wanting money is not necessarily wrong, because not statistically, like they've done studies and like money does make you happier up until a certain point. Once you get to that point, you kind of stagnant. But like, I'm sorry, don't take this the wrong way to anyone listening. The poorest person in San Francisco is not as happy as the upper middle class girl whose husband is paying all her bills because they're super rich. Like, that's just, I'm sorry, that's just how it is. So there's nothing wrong with wanting money, but loving money is the issue. Loving money is the problem. And loving money, I think, is how most of these women get here. And sorry, Freeman, I have a couple of things and then I'll let you go. Sorry, because I feel like you have a lot to say, and I'm just... And I want to also point out the 13%. She's the top 13% of creators. I want to say, I could be wrong, I want to say 99%, not 99%, sorry. Like, a good majority, I cannot remember the exact number, a good majority of the girls on there are making, like, less than $200 a month.
I know. That is so crazy.
Over 50%. I want to say in the 90 percentile, but I can't. Someone can look it up. I wish we had like Jamie from Joe Rogan. Jamie, look this up for me. I want to say it's like in the 90s, make less than $200 a month. So she's at the 13%. So I mean, you know, she's still making so much more money than a lot of these other girls. But I think the fact that she's saying this when she's already been at the top speaks volumes. I also think that it's really important for us to, because I'm sure people are going to be like, oh my goodness, you guys talk about some sort of OnlyFans girl pouring something every episode. And we do. And sometimes, like, when I was thinking about it, I was like, am I fatigued of this? And I'm kind of not fatigued yet. I think because we need to talk more about this, and whenever someone does come out, I think it's good to share their story. I think it's like when someone comes out of some sort of addiction, whenever we hear that you know, someone has kicked fentanyl, like, we should talk about it, we should praise them, we should, you know, encourage them, like, hey, the best is yet to come, you've done it. So I think that's one of the reasons why I do want to keep talking about this, and I do want to highlight women like this. And then when she said it affects the relationships, it makes me think that, like, someone she was dating must have, and now she's looking for a high-value man, so someone she's dated must have been looking at pornography, so now she gets it, because she's on the other side of it now. And this is the truth. I don't care what, if you're a man listening, I don't care what your girl says, she definitely feels some type of way. I am in Facebook groups with girls who aren't even Christians, and some of them will type, like, it's like this group, I don't even know how I got into it, but it's like about makeup and beauty and something, and like girls will just ask the most random stuff that's like really weird and like way too personal. And I mean, there was a season, I want to say maybe even around COVID, where girls were asking like every other week, is it weird my boyfriend is watching porn? I kind of feel weird about it. And like, oh my gosh, there'd be all these girls, no girl, let him do it. And there'd be girls who were like, it's okay to feel weird about it. Like, it's not, he probably shouldn't be doing that. So my whole point being is even like most girls recognize that even if she's acting chill about it, most girls recognize that like, it's uncomfortable. You don't want your spouse, your boyfriend, your fiance to do that, because really what they're doing is cheating on you. If
Yeah.
someone else is giving you pleasure in that
Yeah.
way, they're cheating
Yeah.
on you. Um, so yeah. And then, sorry, last thing,
Mhm.
I love how she discussed the neurological sense of it because that is exactly what
Mhm.
happens. It desensitizes you. I want to just reiterate what I've said on the podcast so many times. It always escalates because it desensitizes. It could start off with vanilla, but explain to me why some of the most watched is barely legal. Some of the most watched is rape fantasy. Some of the most watched
Mhm.
is even like um like
BDSM.
BDSM, things like that. Why, if it's just so sweet and harmless, it's because it escalates. It
Yeah.
always escalates. So if you're watching porn, if you have an OnlyFans and you watch girls, whether you're a girl or a guy, because girls, statistically, girls are now becoming more addicted to pornography as well. There is hope. It is not over for you. You have like there are so many resources out there. Freeman, I would love to share them with you.
Mhm.
Fightthenewdrug.org is a great. It's not
Mhm.
even. It's non-religious, non-political.
Mhm.
They're fantastic. They have such good resources for you. If
Mhm.
you are struggling with that, Freeman, what were your thoughts on Miss James switching over?
Well, I think it's phenomenal. She's switching over, of course. I feel like she still has a little bit of work to do about it. I think that, I think about this a lot. Like, if somebody comes if we both have the same conclusion, right, which is that porn is wrong, yet we come to it from very different paths, do we really agree? Like,
This is good.
I think that you can partially. I think we can both agree that, me and Miss James would probably both agree that it's bad for you emotionally, it's bad for your relationships. But ultimately, it destroys God's creation, which is your body and his plan for you and your sex life. So I'm not sure that we would even really agree. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I don't want to be like a perfectionist about it. I think it's fantastic that we can both agree it's bad. But, there are accounts that will tell you porn is bad or don't watch porn, but because like the hoes like that. You know what I mean? Like the
Yeah,
girls
yeah,
like it when
yeah,
the guy
yeah.
isn't watching porn. But if we come to the same conclusion through different means, do we really agree?
That is such a good point. I like it's just like when women are survivors of human trafficking, so many organizations are Christian because they're coming out, but there has to be something else because it's just like
Yeah, it doesn't
your
feel like
human
that. It doesn't
thing.
feel like that's there for her quite
Yeah,
yet.
yeah. You know what? That's a good point. Especially, I mean, when she said loving money is okay, I was like, okay,
Yeah.
sis.
And she says like and she says no shame to the porn industry and I'm like, yes, shame
yeah,
to the porn industry? So I think that
yeah,
I don't know. Maybe that's just too difficult to make a 180-degree transition, like,
yeah,
so publicly. And of course, maybe she's afraid of being censored. Maybe she has had a much deeper conviction, but I'm excited for more to come of it because it almost feels like maybe she's just doing it because like her boyfriend didn't want her to. You see what I'm saying?
Wow, I love this because that's not at all. I'm just like, yay, someone else is out. But no,
Which
Freeman,
is good.
this is a
Yes,
good Well, no, no, no,
absolutely.
but you're giving another perspective, and that's what the show is about, different perspectives. But it all
Hmm.
comes back to being Christian. Anyway, I think you're making a very good point, and this goes to, and I guess this could also be kind of a question for you guys. When you have conversions, when should you come out and tell everyone about it? Because this is even with people who come out of any industry, really, or people who become Christians. And, I think that the moment you accept Jesus in your heart, and it doesn't have to be the sinner's prayer, it doesn't have to be, straight baptism. It just, whenever you accept that you are a wretched sinner and you need a savior, that's when it happens. So, like, I think that you should tell all your friends, but when should you get a platform? Is something that I think is discussed a lot, especially on Twitter, because there's been other girls who it was this girl that was going viral for a while. Oh, we should have talked about it on the podcast. She was going viral for a while because she was saying how she used to be this, harlot, and she used to do X, Y, and Z. And now she is saved by God's grace. She is this, and that. And she even did the thing where, and you guys know I low-key hate this. When you, like, post pictures of, like, your old life and, like, you're, like, drunk and let's throw up and then you're not wearing clothes and you're like, look how I used to be. And it's like, I believed you.
Yeah.
Anyway, like, you didn't have to show us. We believed you. But anyway, so she just started saying, like, she did that. And people were kind of like, well, like, how do we know you've actually changed? And I hate the idea of not believing someone's changed. But I do think that's a good, I think it's healthy to an extent, of course, to kind of question, especially if it's someone like, if we were to look and find out last week is when she, last week she posted her last video and she's explaining how she's switching porn, but, like, she's naked and, like, guys, I'm gonna stop. Like, okay, then it's kind of like, okay, girl, what you doing?
Yeah, and she also writes, like, a lot of the girls that are on OnlyFans, unfortunately, like, don't take sex work, like, seriously, and they don't have a respect for it. And I'm like,
that's a good point too.
Why
what does
would
that even
you?
mean? Yeah. You show why there's no reason to respect it. You explain it to us, sis.
And, like, not that her photos are bad, really, at all, but, like, there's still a lot of cleavage happening. And I'm just, and, I'm just, I'm a little bit skeptical, to be honest with you, but I mean, everyone starts somewhere, right? Like, you can't just overnight, like, realize all of God's grace. Like, I'm still realizing it today. So I don't want to be a hypocrite, but it's just like a love of my sister. I want her to experience the fullness of God's grace, and I'm hoping that she'll come to that if she hasn't already.
I just clicked her Instagram 5 days ago. She's wearing a topless photo with her hands covering her nipples. And
Called
then,
it. Called
wow,
it.
okay.
Called it.
So
Called it.
it
Called
seems
it.
as if she
Called
doesn't
it.
fully
Called it.
understand.
Called it. Called it. Called it.
It seems as if she doesn't fully understand why OnlyFans is bad. And you know what? This is good. We're realizing this together live on air. I think you made such a valid point. There is a difference between realizing, like, I don't want to do OnlyFans because of X, Y, and Z versus this industry is wrong. It is wrong.
Yes.
So I am going away from it. What she's really just saying is she doesn't want. This is crazy. I'm sorry. I really was not expecting. I was like, girl, maybe she's at church. We're over here judging her and she could be at church. I am shooketh. My good sis is not wearing a top playing tennis. That's crazy. Oh my.
Also, like, it
oh
has
my.
become...
Oh my. She's naked in one of these.
Okay, we get
I'm
it,
done.
Mallory.
I'm getting off of it. I couldn't, I was rooting for her. We were rooting for you.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Well,
I'm sorry.
I mean, it's trendy to be like, I'm done with this. Like,
Yeah,
I'm high and mighty.
It is.
It's trendy, and it's also like there's plenty of progressives that think pornography is horrible, but we wouldn't agree on why.
Yeah.
See what I'm saying?
You are smart. This is a smart girl, you guys. You should be listening to Free for All Fridays, available on the Patreon. No, you're making such a good point. That is the difference between her and another girl who stops and, like, changes her life and doesn't just, like, delete her account. Is the reason why. Why are you stopping this? What is it that you think is wrong about this? And even to your point, she says she wants a high value man. The reality is, all those high value men, podcasts and everything, they do talk bad about OnlyFans girls. So maybe she is saying, I'm done with this. Like, I want a high value man. And you have to have good intentions. And with our worldview, everything goes back to holiness. Everything goes back to the Bible. Everything goes back to, what does God call of us? You made the why matters, you guys. That is the lesson we learned. We all learned this together. And this great little segment that we had, we learned the why matters. We should move on to our next story.
That should be the title. The why matters.
The why matters. Perfect. So the next story is brought to you by NPR. This is a happy story.
Yes.
It's more of just reporting on it. There's nothing really to like, oh, let's dig
Dissect.
in. Yeah, there's nothing really to dissect about this. Because like I said, the stories were a little bleh this week. Okay, here we go. 4 children lost for 40 days after a plane crash are found alive in a Colombian jungle. 4 indigenous children survived an Amazon plane crash that killed 3 adults and then wandered on their own in the jungle for 40 days before being found alive by Colombian soldiers. Officials in the South American country announced their rescue last Friday, bringing a happy ending to a saga with highs and lows as searchers frantically combed through the rainforest hunting for the youngsters. By Saturday, as the children received treatment as the children received treatment at a military hospital, Bottega, it remained unclear how the siblings, including an 11-month-old, managed to survive. President Gustavo Petro celebrated the news upon returning from Colombia, where he signed a ceasefire with representatives of the National Libertarian Army rebel group. He's expected to meet with the children Saturday. Petro called them an example of survival and predicted their saga will remain in history. I wonder.
Okay, can I start this?
Yeah, go ahead.
No, wait, what were you saying?
I was gonna say, I wonder why they added that line about the ceasefire. Like, were the children? So in my head, as I'm reading this, I'm like, okay, so they found the children. They're like, you know what? You guys found our children. That's it. Let's all have peace. Is that what happened? Like, that was just weird to add in the article. Anyway, go ahead.
Okay, well, first of all, it's amazing they were okay. I heard a few other things. I was actually watching this like with my grandparents in Alabama, and they were like, "Wow." So
Aww.
I heard that a lot of the children actually had like survival skills that their parents had taught them. So
Ooh,
teach your
nice.
kids survival skills. Number 2, if you do get in a plane crash, friends, do not leave the plane site because
That's what
the
I heard as
plane
well.
has a tracker on it. So if you wander away, not saying the kids like are stupid or anything. I'm not
Yeah.
I'm just like, saying
And
they
the
should have done
average
anything
person
different.
probably would wander away because they're trying to find help. Like, in my head, like, if
Exactly.
I were to crash, I'm like, oh, let me
Exactly.
find.
And
Yeah.
food, right?
Yeah,
Like
and
shelter.
food. Yeah.
Okay, but I will say, and this is something that I probably thought way too much of. 40 appears a lot in the Bible.
Yeah.
It's a time. Okay, bear with me. I think this could be symbolic, okay? Because 40 is oftentimes a time of, fasting. It's a time of trial. I'm just saying,
Yeah, it represents a generation. 40 years in the Bible means a generation. When the
See?
Israelites were wandering the desert, it was 40
Exactly.
years. Yeah.
hmm
Yeah. I did notice the 40. I picked up on the 42.
Yeah.
I try not to be
hmm
too into numerology. But I did pick up on that, and I was just kind of like, okay, all right, that's
But let's just
interesting.
acknowledge it, okay?
Yeah. No. I agree. Like, I picked up on that too. I was like, 40. But I think that's really
Hmm.
cool that like they survived. That's crazy to
That
survive
is.
40 days out there by yourself as kids.
I also heard that they were playing like the voice, like their grandmother's voice on a loudspeaker, like through the jungle, telling them to stay put. And
Oh, the
they
kids,
just
like,
tried all kinds of things.
yeah.
No, like the government played on a loudspeaker, like, "Hey kids, like we know you're out there. We're looking for you. Like stay put." And they did it on like a loudspeaker, a
Yeah.
loud loudspeaker.
And the kids stayed put, I'm assuming, when they heard it, or?
I don't know what they did when they heard it, but it's just interesting to see the
Yeah.
different like measures that were taken.
Yeah, that's really cool. And this is a
Mhm.
good, happy story. Like, I feel
Yeah.
like we don't get a lot of these good, happy stories, so it's always good. Like when they rescued those soccer players that were trapped in the cave in, I want to say Cambodia, maybe? This was
Whoa.
years ago. It was like little league soccer players. They were trapped in like a cave or something in Cambodia, and they saved all of them. It was
Oh
really
my gosh.
sweet. Stories like that, I'm just like, oh, nice. That's
And the
good to
why doesn't
hear.
matter. The why right now is just because
Yeah.
answered prayers.
Yeah. Okay. Our next story is another kind of sort of happy story. It starts off a little sad, but then it's happy. And this one brought to you by Apple News. A South Carolina woman mouthed "help me" to a police officer during a traffic stop. Her passenger had just shot someone.
Mm, crazy.
I know. I'm so glad you sent this to me. This was so interesting. The police department recognized Officer Kayla Wallace's quick response in a Way to Go Wednesday Facebook post. Wallace pulled over a white Jeep that had ran a red light along US Highway 17 shortly before sunrise on May 28th.
That was the killer's first mistake. Well, second mistake.
Well, okay, one second. I have a comment on that.
Okay.
While speaking with the female driver and male passenger, Wallace reportedly noticed that the woman felt distressed, according to the authorities. While the male passenger wasn't looking at the driver, the female silently mouthed, "Help me," repeatedly to Wallace. North Myrtle Beach police spokesman Pat Wilkinson said in a statement to CNN. Taking note of the driver's discreet plea for assistance, Wallace removed the passenger from the Jeep and placed him in her patrol car's back seat. The officer returned to speak with the woman who was driving, and the woman frantically told Wallace that the man sitting in her police vehicle had just shot a person, according to authorities.
Oh my gosh.
Yes. Soon after, dispatchers sent a radio alert for officers to be on the lookout for a vehicle recently involved in a shooting in Horry County. The arrested passenger was identified as Collins Bates, who was accused of shooting someone outside of a sports bar in Myrtle Beach. Bates, 29, forced a woman to drive him away from the bar after the shooting. Due to Officer Wallace's proactively patrolling the streets on North Myrtle Beach, even to the last 30 minutes of her shift, a suspect in a shooting was arrested and an unlawfully carried pistol was recovered underneath the suspect's seat. Our department and our community is lucky to have Officer Wallace. The post reads. So
what would you have done?
Oh, well, okay, so here's the thing. The reason why what you said that was the shooter's worst mistake, but the shooter wasn't the one driving. She was driving. I wonder, because she was driving, she was the driver. But here's the thing. I wonder
she purposely
if she
ran
purposely, yeah, because she probably saw the cop, and like, I wonder if
I would not have been that smart.
Yeah, well, that's something. So you guys know how much I
would have been afraid of being like shot for running the red light.
By the police?
By the passenger.
Well, I think that they wouldn't have cared if nothing happened. You know what I mean? Oh, you mean like when they realized so like I feel like the passenger was probably, because here's the other thing too. Like when we see the stuff in movies, they're like overhyping it. Like criminals in real life, in my opinion, not that I've met a bunch, but in my opinion, criminals in real life aren't really like quick on their feet. Like they're not really like masterminds. Like that's just how they're written in movies. So I feel like they pulled over and was like, oh shoot, okay, all right, just act normal. And then because she said that he was like kind of looking away, he wasn't, and if the gun was under his seat, he should have been quick. Like if he was really thinking, he should have been quick to grab it to shoot the police officer. But he didn't even do that, because I think like realistically he was scared. Like, and like if you even see some of these videos of people in court, like I feel like a lot of these people, especially the little, not dumb, but like the minor things that aren't like big rings, stuff like that, offenses, these people are just stupid. Like they're just no, I seriously do. I think they're just like kind of like stupid, and they're not really thinking their next step. Like a lot of people, once again, I don't know a lot of criminals, this is just like from what I've seen, a lot of people don't think about the next step. They just do something that they should not have done. This guy just randomly shot I don't know if it was random. This guy shot somebody, and then here's the other thing too. If you shoot somebody, why would you not have a getaway option? Like that was also stupid too. Like you shoot in a public area at a bar. You shoot someone at a bar, and they go, "What do I do?" Like you should already have a getaway option. So that just kind of shows how he just wasn't thinking. But I do think she was like quick on her feet. I'm guessing, because I think she ran the red light.
Got it.
On her own. I think. I don't know. If she didn't, she should say she did, just for funsies. Just to, you know. Like, as she's like, oh, yeah, I actually did this on purpose.
I do want to be a little bit of a critic. I don't think it was attention to detail if she was mouthing "help me" like repeatedly.
Well, like,
I mean, yes, like good on her for noticing, but like, how could you not if she was mouthing "help me" repeatedly to a police officer?
Because I mean, I guess like, well, and also too, they made a good point that it was only 30 minutes left, and you don't have to, like, they didn't have to pull her over. Like, I think that's what they mean. Just like, you weren't just being
But
lazy.
she did her job by pulling her over.
Right. But she didn't have to. You know what I mean? Like, sometimes, so I was listening to, if you guys listen to Crime Weekly, you would love it. I got Freeman listening. And they did like a quick, on Wednesdays do like a quick 30-minute, sometimes 40-minute like episode about something, and they did this. Oh, maybe I need to remember to link it. And they talked about this. And Derek, who's a former police officer, he said that sometimes, like, you don't mean to do this, but like, you are at your patrol and, you know, you could be on your phone or you could be logging a previous thing on your laptop because you're logging something that previously happened, and someone zooms by and you're just like, oh, I can't get it right, I gotta finish this. Or if you're not, you know, if you're not attentive, you're on your phone, like blah blah blah. And they were just like praising him or praising her for like being good and on top of it.
Well, okay. Well, she definitely deserves a pat on the back, for sure.
Yeah.
And it was smart to get him, like, in the patrol car. You know, that was
Yeah,
good.
that was
good.
Now that was clever too, because like and you know what? Part of the reason why I'm not a cop is because, like, help. I'd probably be reading her lips out loud. Help me, and like then, you know,
like,
they're all
what?
dead. Yeah.
What are you
like,
saying?
I can't hear what you're saying, ma'am. Can you talk a little louder? Like,
Yeah.
And then, you know, then we're all dead. So I think it was still good. I think the cop did great. I am proud of her. I'm proud of the girl who ran the red light as well. Okay, so let's get to our last story. We have been trying to talk about this story.
Oh my gosh, how many times have we pushed this back?
3 weeks. I think this is like the third time it's been on the docket. I really want to talk about this story because I have so much to say. Well, not so much to say, but I have stuff to say. Okay, here we go. It was going viral on Twitter like 3-4 weeks ago, but whatever, we'll bring it back. Okay, this is a weird science moment. Billionaire vampire in training injects himself with teenage blood to reverse biological age. That's the title of the article.
Smart. Good idea.
Grabbed my attention. Anti-aging obsessed tech billionaire Brian Johnson seemed to have taken inspiration from Mad Max and Dracula for his latest attempt at reversing his biological age. Johnson, 45, revealed that he had recruited his 17-year-old son and 70-year-old dad for a multi-generational blood plasma swap. This is just the latest in bizarre venture in his quest for longevity This is the latest bizarre venture in his quest for longevity or immortality. Project Blueprint is what it's called. Previously, Johnson had undergone monthly MRIs and invested in an overnight erection tracker as part of his $2 million annual longevity expenses. In a YouTube video documenting the procedure, the trio heads to Resurgence Wellness, a medical spa near Dallas, Texas. There, Johnson and his son have a liter of their blood extracted and broken into piece parts, a process that separates plasma from red blood cells. Plasma is a yellowish liquid component of your blood that carries hormones, nutrients, and waste through your body. Once separated plasma can be used during blood transfusions to treat autoimmune diseases, clotting disorders, and immune deficiencies, according to the Red Cross. After the extraction, Johnson receives a liter of his son's blood, and his father receives a liter of his blood. This isn't the first time Johnson had hopped on this trend. He says he has previously received plasma transfusions from an anonymous young donor, but this multi-generational exchange was the first time he's taking blood from his son, who has also been on the Blueprint Project protocol for 2 years. Quote, "We do all of our blood work together. If you look at the results of our blood work, we're almost indistinguishable." End quote.
Aww, that's so cute.
Isn't? Elective plasma transfusion from young donors are the newest craze in biohacking community. This procedure hopes to regenerate hair growth, boost cognitive function, and starve off markers of biological aging. However, the FDA released a statement discouraging elective young blood infusions, knowing that these claims are unproven.
Oh no.
Can you
Well,
believe
it sounded
that?
so legit.
I know. I was signing up as I was reading it.
We should exchange blood
We should.
so that so that you don't age because you're 7 years older than me.
Yeah, and I think that'll work. Even though the
Yeah, why
FDA does
not?
say it's unproven, but who can trust the FDA these days? Just joking,
Okay,
people.
this picture of them is so terrifying.
I know they look really creepy.
And
I
I'm
know.
looking at their plasma. I don't want to look at anybody's plasma. No, thank you.
I know.
Well, it's obviously just sad that people are like so afraid of aging. I mean, it's a aging is a completely natural, beautiful process, and I don't feel like I need to go into that too much, but it's your body's natural way of slowing down, taking care of itself and being more connected with yourself. And so it's kind of ridiculous to try to stop the aging process. It's sad ultimately because it's an insecurity.
Yes, and I think stopping the aging process and all that stuff is so in vogue right now. Women are
Mm-hmm.
doing it. Women are doing, I feel like, a little bit less than men are doing, it sounds like.
Literally.
But women are spending thousands. I mean, I have friends that spend thousands of dollars a month on skincare, on little injections, and like I
Botox.
Botox, and like
Oh
I
my
just
gosh.
don't. I personally just don't think that's necessary.
No.
Um, and I that's not something that I want to do in my life.
Yeah.
Like, I
If
just
I
don't.
have the money, if I have thousands of dollars, like I would definitely, I have like 100 different things I'd
A
want to spend it
a
on.
bajillion other things than to stop aging. And here's one thing that I think about, and I'm not saying everybody that wants to stop aging feels this way. I think it's more people who are obsessed with like living forever. Like, they say I don't remember this guy. I can't remember who it was, but one of these bajillionaires, he had like 7 heart attacks or something like that, and or he died like 7 times. They kept reviving him, and the joke was like, "Hey, like God's telling you something," like, which
Oh
isn't
my
funny.
gosh.
But my whole point is like he is one of those. He was one of those guys. It's like, no, I'm gonna live forever. I'm gonna do whatever I can, live forever. I personally think that mindset. I don't know this man's salvation. I don't think he was a Christian. He wasn't known for being a Christian. But this is what I personally think. People who have that mindset, a lot of that is like being afraid to die because you don't know what's going to
Yes.
happen. I think like if you are okay with dying to an extent, obviously, there's extremes, but if you're okay with
Hmm.
dying, I think a lot of that has to, because you're assured in your salvation, you know for a fact like you're going to go to heaven. So like, and I think that has a lot to do like partially with me. Like I I have no interest in living forever. I'm gonna be
Same. That
I
sounds
have no,
horrible.
it sounds awful. I have no interest in living to be like, well, I don't want to say the number because if my mom's listening, she'll be mad at me. But like, there's no reason to live to be some of these ages that people live to be. Don't stop
Like just
it. Yeah,
because,
just
unless you're
because.
doing something like
Yeah,
I'm saving the world. Unless you're Mick, okay?
right. Unless you have to save the world, unless you're Mick or Ben, there's no reason. Like, I don't think you should. Don't stop. Now, if God, let's say God does have me out here, like I'm not gonna do anything to
At
stop or anything like that.
120. Yeah.
Yeah, if I'm out here till 120, I mean, you're gonna like. First of all, I should be praised, if I'm being honest. If I want to live a regular American girl, especially someone who spent a good chunk of her life, like, obese, like, if I live to be 120, I should be studied and I should be praised, okay? So if I do live that long, like, obviously, I'm gonna live my best life, but, like, I just don't see the, like, I, I know I'm gonna go to
The
heaven. Like,
merit. Yeah.
I just don't see the point. Like, I'm gonna go to heaven. Like, I'm happy about that. Like, I'm excited. I'm excited to go to heaven. I'm excited to move forward. I'm
Hmm.
gonna keep doing what God has called me to do while I'm here. But you know what? And once again, that just goes back to like, if a lot of times I think people are just afraid of like what's gonna happen, um, like in the next, in whatever is next. Because I
Yes.
think like if I didn't have that assurance that I'm going to go to heaven, that I'm a Christian, like I'm going to be with Jesus one day,
Hmm.
I think I'd try to stay alive too, because you really don't know. Like you would,
Yeah.
that's a reason to work so hard to do everything right and to just to get as much, not even do everything right, I'm sorry, to get as much money, billionaires, to get as much money as possible because, you got to be able to do all these things. And if you live a long time and like, da 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 da, so
Yeah.
yeah. And like, fighting aging, once again, like, so back to the aging aspect of it, because it was talking about aging, fighting aging, and immortality. So back to the aging part of it, like, I understand the need and the desire to want to look your best. Like, I get that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that aging means you look bad. Like, my grandmother, my great grandma was 103, 104. She looked fantastic. Like, not a day over. I know that, and it's in my genes. So anyway, she was like 103, 104, something like that. Like, and I'm not trying to be funny or silly. I feel like she didn't look a day over like 60 or 70. Like, she looked great. Like, and she didn't do any of this extra, like, extra, and which is fine. I'm not knocking those that do that. And if you feel as if you have to do that, maybe your family just doesn't, because a lot of it is genetics, some of your family just doesn't have those type of genetics. So I'm not knocking that at all. I'm just saying, like, I just don't, I think, just being mindful of, like, am I obsessing over this? And we all can have those things. Like, once again, I'm not coming at those who that is their thing. Like, we all have our things. Like, I obsess over things I shouldn't be obsessing over as well. But yeah, just being mindful of, like, why do we want to stop aging? Aging isn't terrible. It's not the worst thing that can happen to you. A lot worse.
And dying isn't the worst thing that's going to happen to you either.
No, dying is not the worst thing. And if you have believed in your heart that God raised Jesus from the dead, and you have received and confessed him as your Savior and Lord, you don't have to worry about it. Romans 10:9 and 10. All right, you guys, thanks so much for listening to Those Are the Girls. If you enjoyed this episode, please make sure you like, rate, review, subscribe. Let us know in the comments and on Spotify. Let us know. Well, I was going to say, do you think that this is a real back to our homegirl at the beginning, do you think this is a real conversion, or she's just but we kind of already figured that out.
We already figured that one out.
Let us know, or you know what? Let us know if you even think that's important. Do you think that the why is important? Is that something that you think that,
yeah. Or do you just think, like, it doesn't matter why she quit porn? She quit porn.
Yeah. Let us know what you think. And then our poll will be, have you ever met a criminal? Just joking. Our poll will be, are you taking any anti-aging measures at this present time?
And another good question could be, like, what extent does anti-aging measures become problematic? Ooh.
Okay, that should be the question. So it's like one question and one poll. So that can be the question.
Okay.
And then the poll will be, does the why actually matter?
Got it. Yes.
Perfect.
And yeah, exactly.
All right. So you'll see all this on Spotify, everybody. So go ahead and answer those questions. And like I said, make sure you share with your friends. This was a kind of a silly-ish episode. Yeah. Wasn't as, not like how we usually do it.
Stimulating.
No. But it was interesting. I can tell you that. So go ahead and share it. Share it with your friends. Use this time to go back and listen to previous episodes. We have almost 300 episodes. So, wow. Excuse me. Sorry, that was a weird hiccup. Go back and check those out. Check out our Patreon. We do have some stuff. We have Freeman Free for All Fridays by Freeman is on there. And by the time you guys see this, there'll be a new one out. We have that. And then we also have other previous episodes on the Patreon, exclusives. Check out our merch. And make sure that you are leaving a rate if you're listening on Apple Podcasts. That's the best way to get people to know about the podcast. If you're listening on Spotify, make sure you leave us a 5-star review. If you felt like this wasn't a 5-star episode and you don't feel like, and you're like, oh, I only want to give it a 5-star rating. If I felt like if it was 5-star, go ahead and listen to other episodes and then go ahead and give it a 5-star. But don't give us a 4. We are kind of trying to only do 5s right now. So only give us
now, maybe later.
Yeah, maybe later we'll take 4s. But right now, let's just stick with 5 stars. So yeah, you guys. Bye.
Peace.